Blake Lively wants us to believe this is actionable harassment, that she is a true Me Too victim, but the story she's pushing doesn't hold up under the slightest scrutiny. Megyn Kelly has exposed how Blake's court case isn't just about her and Justin Baldoni. It's harming women everywhere. By twisting the truth and manipulating narratives, Blake has made deception look effortless. The result? Real victims are now being labeled liars. Those who worked with her describe her as egotistical, controlling, and entitled. She wanted to oversee every scene, demanded access to dailies, cut her own version of the film, and acted as if she alone ran the project. This isn't standard behavior for an actress. It's a power grab. Blake demonstrated to the world how a woman can fake victimhood, manipulate the system, and destroy a man's reputation, all for greed, power, and control. And now, women everywhere are paying the price. The evidence against her narrative is overwhelming. She accused Justin Baldoni of coming into her trailer uninvited while she was breastfeeding. Yet leaked text messages show her clearly inviting him in, writing, "I'm breastfeeding. Come on over." She accused his producing partner of showing her pornography, no proof. She alleged Justin crossed boundaries during a slow dance montage, claiming he caressed her neck with his mouth. Yet leaked footage shows the opposite. Two colleagues laughing, joking, and talking openly about their spouses. There's no moment of harassment, just mutual flirtation and playful banter. This is why critics like Megyn Kelly and Candace Owens are furious. When a powerful celebrity manipulates the Me Too movement for personal gain, the entire movement suffers. Every real survivor is now forced to work harder to be believed. The next waitress who speaks up against her boss, the next intern who reports an executive, they will all face the skepticism Blake manufactured. Men will point to this case and say, "See? Women lie. Blake just handed predators a free pass and she doesn't care." Even her lawsuit reeks of retaliation. She wants the court to silence Justin Baldoni and his attorney Brian Friedman because they dared to fight back in the media. She accuses them of trying to sway public opinion while conveniently ignoring the fact that she herself fed information to the New York Times before even filing her complaint. If she had strong evidence, she wouldn't need to gag the other side. She wouldn't need to weaponize public sympathy first. And just like Johnny Depp before him, Justin Baldoni is refusing to stay silent. He's exposing how the so-called victim was actually the aggressor, how Blake was manipulative, controlling, and in some cases outright harassing. The text, the footage, the witnesses, they all contradict her sob story. But because of her celebrity power, she still commands defenders who would rather protect her brand than protect the truth. What makes this case even worse is the way Blake recruited others to help her. She built an army of Hollywood mean girls, Colleen Hoover, Jenny Slate, Taylor Swift, and PR teams who amplified her fabricated story and silenced dissent. They turned this into a loyalty test, forcing women to choose, support Blake blindly or be cast out. Colleen Hoover, for example, once praised Blake as honest and kind in glowing Instagram posts. But when evidence surfaced, she scrubbed every mention of her. Jenny Slate allegedly played the role of the supportive friend, echoing Blake's claims without question. Yet the damage was already done. Once again, truth didn't matter, power did. And this is the tragedy. Women already face enormous barriers when reporting abuse. They're cross-examined, doubted, and often dismissed. Blake has now given society another excuse to doubt them. She's proven that women, too, can weaponize a system meant to protect. Worse, she's shown how women will turn on one another to cling to power. Colleen Hoover and Jenny Slate chose loyalty to Blake over accountability. Female solidarity became just another PR strategy. Candace Owens called it out bluntly. Women fought for years to make the Me Too movement credible, only for someone like Blake to waltz in and use it as leverage in a Hollywood feud. Now men sit back with an easy response. Women lie. And once that mindset spreads, the entire movement collapses. This isn't just about Blake versus Justin anymore. It's about the credibility of every woman who has suffered in silence and now faces the uphill battle of proving she isn't just another Blake Lively. The psychological damage is enormous. Women don't just fear men won't believe them. Now they fear women won't either. Blake showed the world that even within female empowerment circles, loyalty and power come before truth and justice. At its core, this is a betrayal. A betrayal of the women who fought to be believed, a betrayal of the men unfairly accused, and a betrayal of the movement itself. Blake's actions are not just selfish, they are destructive. Megyn Kelly was right. When the perfect victim facade collapses, it doesn't just collapse for the liar. It collapses for everyone. And that is the legacy Blake Lively is leaving behind. Blake Lively wants the world to see her as a victim, but the evidence tells a completely different story. Commentators like Megyn Kelly aren't buying it, and neither should anyone else. Instead of standing as a beacon of female empowerment, Blake used feminism as a shield, hiding behind it while she tore down a man's career, manipulated the media, and turned women against one another. And the worst part? She doesn't even care. While real survivors are fighting every day just to be believed, Blake is sitting comfortably, sipping champagne, convinced she won. This is not empowerment. This is exploitation. And now the ripple effects are devastating for women everywhere. Reynolds, who has branded himself as a feminist icon, only made things worse. When Blake accused Justin Baldoni of misconduct, did Ryan encourage a formal complaint? Did he push for HR intervention or legal action? No. Instead, witnesses say he berated Justin so harshly in front of senior staff that executives later admitted they felt guilty for not stepping in. Rather than pursue justice, Ryan used humiliation as his weapon. Behind the scenes, he went even further. Reports claim Reynolds rewrote sections of It Ends With Us without permission, undermining Justin's creative authority. Even Sony executives were stunned. And when test audiences preferred Justin's cut of the film, Blake allegedly threw a tantrum. That's when Ryan stepped in again, pressuring the studio to release her version instead. Translation: Justin made the better movie, but Blake and Ryan muscled their way into control. And then came the Deadpool jab. Instead of treating his wife's supposed trauma with seriousness, Ryan slipped a mocking reference to Justin into his franchise, turning allegations of harassment into a punchline. Megyn Kelly called this out, and rightfully so. Because if Ryan truly believed his wife had been victimized, he wouldn't reduce it to a joke. He would take action. He would demand accountability. But he didn't. He trivialized it, sending a clear message. Harassment isn't serious, it's comedy fodder. That's not just humiliating for Justin Baldoni. It's humiliating for every woman who has ever risked her reputation by speaking up. What Ryan did is the equivalent of an office bro turning a harassment case into locker room gossip. He made light of a situation that deserved gravity, teaching others to dismiss real claims as publicity stunts. And here's the truth. Reynolds' behavior suggests he knows the allegations don't hold water. Instead of facing that reality, he used his platform to smear Justin further, hoping the weight of his celebrity could bury the facts. But the facts are damning. Blake's own messages show she initiated contact, invited Justin into private spaces, and was physically affectionate. She was perfectly comfortable, until Justin refused to hand her full control of the project. That's when the narrative shifted. Suddenly, she wasn't comfortable anymore. Suddenly, he was the villain. This wasn't about justice. It was about power. Blake wanted creative dominance over It Ends With Us. When she didn't get it, she weaponized the most explosive accusation in Hollywood, harassment. She knew the media would rally to her side instantly. She knew people are quick to believe women, especially famous ones. And she knew it would destroy Justin's credibility. Now the fallout is massive. Every time a real victim speaks up, skeptics will point to this case and say, women lie. That's the damage Blake and Ryan have done. They didn't just attack Justin Baldoni, they undermined the credibility of survivors everywhere. Megyn Kelly has said it bluntly. This sets women back. Feminism was never supposed to mean protecting those who abuse the system. It was about truth, accountability, and justice. But Blake turned it into a weapon for control. And with Ryan enabling her every step of the way, they've left behind a legacy of deceit, betrayal, and destruction. Blake Lively once carried the image of Hollywood's golden girl, charming, glamorous, always in control of her public narrative. But when her feud with Justin Baldoni erupted into a full-blown legal war, that carefully constructed reputation began to crumble in ways even her powerful PR team couldn't contain. What started as whispers about creative disagreements on set spiraled into accusations, lawsuits, and media manipulation, and now, the fallout has left not only Blake, but also the broader conversation about women in Hollywood shaken to its core. This is not just about a movie or even about two celebrities fighting for control. This is about how far influence, perception, and spin can stretch before the truth finally breaks through, and what happens to real victims of abuse when fabricated stories dominate headlines. From the beginning, Blake was never just another actress in this production. She had ambitions that went far beyond her role on screen. Insiders say she was actively trying to wrestle creative control away from Baldoni, who wasn't just the director, but also one of the producers. In other words, the movie was his baby, his vision, his responsibility. Blake wanted a seat at the table she hadn't earned, and when she didn't get it, the story shifted. Suddenly, rumors began appearing in the press. Headlines framed Justin as the problem, and narratives circulated about Blake being mistreated on set. Coincidence? Hardly. According to multiple commentators like Megyn Kelly and Candace Owens, this was classic PR warfare, the kind where truth becomes secondary to whoever controls the louder microphone. The problem, however, is that media narratives can only hold up for so long when the evidence doesn't support them. And in this case, the evidence was crumbling fast. By February 3rd, Blake's case was already showing signs of collapse. Witness testimony wasn't lining up. Documents introduced by her lawyers didn't match the timeline of events. Key players who were expected to back her up either stayed silent or refused to get involved at all. Jenny Slate, a known Hollywood ally of Blake's, was allegedly approached to join the lawsuit. But she declined. That decision speaks volumes. Either she didn't have a case to begin with, or she realized Blake was manipulating the situation and wanted no part of it. Whatever the reason, it left Blake and her legal team scrambling. They tried to add new plaintiffs, hoping more names would make the case seem credible. But the judge wasn't buying it. When the judge denied her request for a delay, it was more than a procedural move. It was a message. Judges don't deny extensions unless they're fed up with excuses. At this point, the court had seen enough. The evidence was weak. The strategies looked like stalling tactics. Blake's side had no solid ground to stand on, and the case began to look like what many suspected from the start, a Hollywood power grab disguised as a victim's plea. This is where the conversation turned darker, because this wasn't just about Blake versus Justin anymore. It became about the credibility of women in the workplace, in the legal system, and in society at large. For decades, women have fought tooth and nail to create systems of accountability, HR protections, workplace misconduct policies, legal pathways for survivors of harassment. But when someone exploits those systems for personal gain, the consequences ripple far beyond a single courtroom. Megyn Kelly hammered this point again and again. If women like Blake abuse the system, real victims will be the ones who pay the price. Judges and juries will grow skeptical. Corporations will dismiss legitimate claims. And the progress women fought for will take steps backward. Blake may have thought her tearful monologues and emotional PR campaigns would win over the public, but the internet doesn't operate like traditional media. Social media users dissect narratives with a fine-tooth comb, archive deleted posts, pull receipts from years back, and refuse to let inconsistencies slide. And when the truth began to peek through, the backlash was swift and brutal. Blake lost nearly 400,000 followers in a matter of weeks. Reynolds, her husband and usually one of Hollywood's most beloved figures, lost just as many. That's almost 800,000 people collectively walking away from a couple that had once symbolized wholesome celebrity charm. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni's following skyrocketed. More than 200,000 new supporters rallying behind him as the tide of public opinion turned. Numbers like that aren't just statistics. They're cultural signals. They show who the public believes and who they don't. They show who inspires trust and who feels like they're playing a manipulative game. And in this case, people were overwhelmingly siding with Justin. The message was clear. Audiences are done with crocodile tears and staged narratives. They want transparency, authenticity, and evidence, not carefully orchestrated stories designed in PR boardrooms. Colleen Hoover's sudden shift was another major red flag. Once a vocal supporter of Blake, she quietly deleted posts and cut ties. That move, subtle but powerful, revealed how even allies realized the sinking ship wasn't worth going down with. If someone like Colleen, who had nothing to gain or lose from the lawsuit, felt compelled to distance herself, it only fueled the suspicion that Blake's narrative was unraveling. Hollywood runs on relationships, and when even your friends start deleting traces of you, it means your reputation is in real danger. This entire saga also exposed the media's complicity. At first, every headline leaned Blake's way. Reporters framed her as the victim, Justin as the aggressor. The narrative was spoon-fed to the public before the evidence had even been heard. But as the cracks appeared, media outlets grew quieter. They stopped pushing her story so aggressively. Why? Because the story they had been sold no longer matched reality. It's a cautionary tale about the dangers of believing accusations without proof, especially when those accusations serve someone's personal agenda. But perhaps the most devastating fallout of all is what this means for women everywhere. When false allegations are weaponized, it doesn't just hurt the accused. It erodes the credibility of all future accusers. Every real survivor who comes forward after this will face an extra layer of doubt, skepticism, and scrutiny. Blake didn't just damage her own reputation. She handed ammunition to every bad faith skeptic who already wanted to dismiss women's stories. She gave corporations and abusers the perfect excuse to say, "See? Women lie to get ahead." And that betrayal goes far beyond Justin Baldoni. The tragedy is that this could have been avoided. If Blake had stayed in her lane as an actress, contributed her talents on set, and worked collaboratively instead of combatively, none of this would have happened. But ambition mixed with entitlement, amplified by Hollywood's obsession with image, created the perfect storm. Now, as the dust settles, the wreckage is clear. A career tainted, a reputation in shambles, friendships severed, and a broader movement weakened. The internet has made it nearly impossible to get away with spin anymore. Leaked texts, behind-the-scenes recordings, screenshots, anonymous testimonies, everything eventually finds its way online. And once it does, PR teams can't contain it. Blake's strategy of controlling the narrative worked for a time, but once the cracks appeared, her entire house of cards came crashing down. People don't just accept celebrity narratives at face value anymore. They question, they dig. They hold people accountable, and once the public decides someone is a manipulator, it's nearly impossible to win them back. Today, as Blake watches her follower count plummet and her credibility collapse, the consequences are undeniable. She thought she could bend the truth, bend the system, and bend the public to her will. Instead, she bent until everything snapped. And while Justin Baldoni walks away with his reputation strengthened, Blake faces the harsh reality of an industry and an audience that no longer trust her. The deeper question now is this: what lesson will Hollywood take from this? Will studios continue to enable stars who weaponize PR manipulation? Will the media continue to amplify stories before facts are confirmed? And most importantly, will real survivors be able to recover the trust that was eroded in this spectacle? Because at the end of the day, this was never just about Blake Lively. This was about every woman who has ever had to fight to be believed, and every man who has ever been falsely accused. It's about justice and what happens when someone abuses it. So here we are. Blake Lively, once a Hollywood darling, now stands as a cautionary tale. Her attempt to hijack control of a movie turned into a legal disaster. Her effort to weaponize public sympathy backfired spectacularly. And her legacy now carries a stain that no PR spin can wash away. As Megyn Kelly put it best, if Blake lied, she didn't just betray Justin. She betrayed every woman who ever told the truth. And that is something Hollywood and the public will not forget anytime soon.